In this video, we are gonna see about Supabase, which is a platform which helps the developers to build applications using database, authentication, and a lot of support. So in this video, we are gonna see what is Supabase and how we can use it all this in just 10 minutes. So first, what is Supabase? So Supabase is a platform which provides authentication support, database support, and file storage, automatic API support. So this platform provides you a lot of things through which you don't need to provide or you don't need to set up a complete separate server. Instead, you can have the Supabase setup and you can build just a front end either using React, Angular or Vue.js, and you can just connect your application with the Supabase and you can power your application with a complete authentication setup and a database setup and everything. Supabase is actually compared with one of the popular platform which is the Firebase. So you might have heard it before. So Firebase is a Google's cloud alternative cloud platform which also provides authentication support, database support, storage, all these things. So there is a difference between the Firebase and the Supabase in a lot of stuffs. The first thing is Firebase uses document-based database, and here on the other hand the Supabase uses Postgres as its main database. And the other thing about using Firebase is, yes, of course Firebase is easy to use, but when you're using Supabase you get the advantage of scalability, because if you are a Firebase developer you must have definitely known this, that scaling is a problem when you're using Firebase, but with the Supabase you can easily scale your application depending upon your requirement. And the next thing is the pricing. The pricing in Firebase might look a little bit complex when compared to the Supabase, because Supabase pricing system is really relatively simple. The reason is, yes, of course, both the platforms provide you free tier, which is you can access the authentication, storage, everything free of cost. But for example, if you want to use the database of Firestore, so that is the one which is available in Firebase, you need to kind of like pay for each and every read, write, and delete operation. So you need to pay for each operations you do on the database, whereas on the Supabase you don't need to pay for each operations you do, rather you need to pay for the amount of data, like the storage capacity you're storing in their storage. So it depends on either storage or the database. So the pricing is relatively simple in Supabase. So that is one more thing which you can definitely try with the Supabase. And the next step, why you need to use Supabase and the advantages of Supabase is, when you're using Supabase, you get the complete authentication support for different social logins for different OAuth when compared to the Firebase. Because if you are using Firebase for the authentication, in Firebase, yes, of course, there is like lot of social logins like Google, Twitter, Facebook, and still it loses a lot of its social logins. For example, the Firebase doesn't provide support for LinkedIn social login. Whereas on the other hand, Supabase also provides authentication support for pretty much most of the important login platforms like Discord, LinkedIn, Google, Twitter, and a lot of things. And the other thing about Supabase is it's relatively easy to set up. Whatever front end framework you're using, you can easily integrate the Supabase into your application and you can use it relatively simple. And also setting up Supabase is easier when compared to the Firebase, because if you are using Firebase, then migrating your Firebase application to Supabase is also relatively simple. So now let me show you the screen where you can see the Supabase documentation. So let me share my screen for you guys. There we go. So in this place you can see, so this is the Supabase where you can build in a weekend and scale to millions, because the main thing which the Supabase try to achieve is the scalability. Because when using Firebase, the main problem this thought is the scalable issues, because using Firebase you can easily set up your application and like you can easily connect it with the front end, but there is a scalability issue. If you want to go big, then that comes a problem with the Firebase. And you can see it's backed by Y Combinator, Mozilla, Kotek, and Felicious. So you can see the support they provide. So these are the four main things: the database, authentication, storage, and edge functions. In Firebase, you get some additional stuffs like you, because as it's a complete Google product, you get additional support like Google Analytics and AML functions, these things. But in Supabase, it's kindly only and mainly focused on the applications which you build, like kind of full stack applications. That is why they focus mainly on database, because of course every full stack applications need a database support, and then the authentication for login and sign up purpose, and of course the storage for storing any kind of files. It can be a media files, it can be some document files, it can be anything you can directly store, and it also have the latency speed, so the data transfer will also be relatively fast. And the last thing is edge functions. You can directly write serverless functions and store it in the Supabase, and these kinds of things provides you with a lot of support when you're using Supabase. And if I go to the pricing, you can see with the pricing, so here is a free tier element. But the one thing over here, Supabase and Firebase, is in Firebase you can like create multiple projects. I think it almost provides you like 30 to 40 projects you can create free of cost, and you can use the limited amount of DB storage, and then the authentication, everything. But with the Supabase, they provide you all the things in a heavy amount of data, but you can create only 2 projects in the free tier. So here you can see it's limited to 2 free projects, but they provide the database storage of up to 500 MB, and then they provide a 1 GB file storage and up to 50 MB file uploads, and of course social wall providers, and they also provide up to 50,000 monthly active users and up to 500k edge function invocations. So this is one main advantage in using Supabase, because when you're using Firebase, to use the cloud functions only if you are in a paid plan, then only you can use the cloud functions from Firebase. But in the using Supabase, you get that advantage, so you don't need a paid plan to use the edge functions in Supabase. You can just kind of like go create a project, and that's it, boom, you're good to go. So these are some things which you can definitely try with the Supabase. And also the Supabase, they handles your project. So if you're like if your project is inactive over a week of time, they just like kind of disable see things. And here you can see what are the additional add-ons you can get with the stuff. So, and here you can see the number of limits they provide for each and every. For a database, you can see they provide the dedicated Postgres database and unlimited API requests and up to 500 MB of DB. And then you can see the authentication. The number of total users is completely unlimited. But with like with the Firebase, it's kind of like limited. So that's another advantage of using Supabase. And here you can see the number of storage they provide up to like 1 GB, and maximum file upload you can upload up to like 50 MB of file. And the edge functions, you can run up to like 100 hours of free edge function, that is the free cloud functions, serverless functions for free of cost, and you can have up to 10 functions for free. So you can see pretty much they have like a lot of support. So this is one main thing why people are now using over the Supabase, because if you're a front-end developer and if you're trying to build a full stack project, then Supabase might be the best option for you right now to learn and explore it. The main reason behind the Supabase is because of course you can use Firebase, but with the Supabase you also get that complete database support. Like you can use a real-time DB, which is a Postgres, because with the Firebase you'll be using the Firestore, which is a complete Firebase database, and it's like a document type database. Whereas with using Supabase, you get access to the Postgres, so that writing queries and all these stuffs will make you a little bit comfortable when you're trying to move on to build a complete separate backend server. So these are some advantages which you get with the Supabase, and yeah, so these are the main things which I thought of talking about in this video. So if you are a front-end developer and if you are trying to learn Supabase, then definitely you should go try to learn Supabase, and they have a very well documented documentation. So it's clean, it's neat, and you can just go on and search through the documentation and you'll find the best resources for learning Supabase. So definitely if you are a one, definitely you should try learning the Supabase. So guys, if you like this video, please subscribe to Techieey, and see you guys in the next video with a different content. Thank you so much. Bye.